Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to sit down and just do a spring TBR. Spring, what I want to read. I've curated a list of books that have been on my list for a while, and some of them I own physically already, and a lot of them are going to be library reads. So a lot of this will depend on if I can get it from the library, but this is what I hope to be reading during the springtime up until I get to my summer break. First book on my list, I actually already read it. I finished it yesterday. This is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. This is not a review type of video by any means. I will say this wasn't my favorite by hers, but I know it has the most traction with the reading community. This was a book of the month a while ago. So it wasn't my favorite by her, but I read it. I'm happy I read it, and I still definitely enjoyed it. Anyway, continuing on, I have a library book that I'm reading right now. This is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and the premise, I'm only like 20 pages in, not even. I started it like this morning. The premise of this book is a man and woman and they connect romantically, they get married. However, the man in the marriage, I still don't know his name yet. That's how early I am in the book. He is a widower. His first wife had passed on, and from my understanding, he is still greatly grieving his late wife. And now Rebecca, our main character, has to kind of live with that, and in a way kind of forms a madness of jealousy because of how in love he still is with his late wife, and that she has to process that. So that's my understanding. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I understood from the synopsis and what I'm getting so far. There's already a little bit of jealousy, and we are not even 3 chapters in. So that's the book that I'm currently reading. Hopefully I get to finish that in the next couple of days. I also have The Bright Years as a library book currently. The Bright Years is about a family of 3, husband and wife. They are both keeping secrets from one another, unfortunately. The husband has an alcohol addiction, and the wife secretly has another child out in the world, not part of her life, but the husband does not know that. Together, they have their own child, their daughter, Georgette, and Georgette is being raised watching the rise and fall of her parents' marriage. And later, I guess, that son, the secret son, eventually tries to find his birth family, and Georgette kind of needs to make the choices of whether she wants to let him in her life, and finding that love and comfort in her family and within herself again. So I'm really excited for this one. I think this one will make me cry, and that's a good book. This is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I didn't read this in high school. I feel like this is like a canon event in high school literature. I never read it. So I know it is about a fireman, and I know it's a lot about censorship. That's all I got. I feel like I should know more about that because this is like a historical book. I know Jack Edwards has talked about this book several times, not so much in like the literary sense. I mean, he has done that too, but also like all of the different versions of the book cover, because paper burns at 451 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's like so many creative book covers that like you can light the paper, you can put heat to the paper to see the words, or like it has a little matchbook in it. It's just really, really cool. Anyway, great PR, great marketing. Next one I have is Never Let Me Go. I actually started reading this in the winter, and then ACOTAR became available at the library, and I set this down and never picked it up again. So I only got maybe a few pages. I will restart it completely. What I do remember is The writing style is very slow. I'm a little bit nervous about that. I've heard once you get to the ending, like it is a relief and like it's worth it once you get to the end, but I am nervous to get through the whole thing if the writing pacing is as slow as I remember it being. As children, Kathy and Ruth and Tommy were students in Hailsham, an exclusive boarding school secluded in England, in the English countryside. It was a place of mercurial, that's a good word, cliques and mysterious rules, and teachers were constantly reminding their charges of how special they were. Now, years later, Kathy is a young woman, Ruth and Tommy have re-entered her life, and for the first time, she is beginning to look back on their shared past and understand just what it is that makes them so special, and how that gift will shape the rest of their time together. Suspenseful, moving, beautifully atmospheric. I don't feel like that really told me much. So we're gonna read it and then hopefully I understand it. At my school that I work at, we have kind of like a free table, or we used to have a free table where like if we had things that we didn't really want anymore, we would put it on the table, whether it was school materials or books for adults. And this was one of them, and I saw this cover and I had to have it. So I took that off of our free table. But, oh, looky there. A little bookmark too. How nice. Mad Woman by Chelsea Beaker is all about this woman who is extremely thankful to have a beautiful husband, beautiful children, a beautiful life. However, prior to her getting those things, she worked for it through lies and possibly violence, and it sounds like the family doesn't know this side of her life. But then she gets a letter from a woman in prison in California, and now everything is coming to the surface and she has to navigate that. So this would be a fun, I feel like I'll get through this really, really fast. This is a good mystery, and maybe not a thriller, but there's something about it that feels very suspenseful, and I think I'll really enjoy that. Next on our list, again, these are all going to be library reads, so I'm fingers crossed I'm going to get all of them. I'm on a list for quite a few of them already. The books that I have that I don't currently own that are on this list: ACOTAR, the third one, it's the pink book. I don't know the full name of it, but the third one in the ACOTAR series. I really want to read that one. I read the first two books. First one I loved. Second one was a lot of world building, which I stay away from fantasies because of the world building. I cannot stand it. But I also know the second one is setting the precedent for the rest of the series, specifically the third one. Everyone that has read the series has told me the third one is the best one, so I'm very excited to finally get to that. I want to attempt to read Stoner by John Williams. From what I got from the synopsis, it is about this man who is kind of going through the motions. That's the way I read it, at least. It says that he raised dirt poor in a family, goes to state university. While at school, he meets and falls in love with a woman, and they get married, they have a family, but it's not exciting for him, kind of like a midlife crisis. Like that's the vibe I'm getting. Midlife crisis type of mood. And so it sounds like, there's a new love, and it causes a scandal, and he has to really do some self-reflection on his life, his family, his relationships. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if this is really gonna be for me, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Just gonna give it a shot. Next up on the list is Heart the Lover. I am very excited to read this one. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. I see it everywhere. I'm really, really excited. Also, the cover is just gorgeous. Are you kidding me? Stunning. Anyway, it is about Jordan, who goes off to college again. Jordan, who goes off to college, meets a couple of friends. They become very, very close, and they live that college experience. And then post-graduation, moving on in life, those college days are comfortably behind her, is what they say in the synopsis. And then she gets some news that has to bring her back to her adolescent days, her college days, and she has to meet with some uncomfortable truths about her decisions back then. And it just sounds beautiful, and it's all about friendship and love and forgiveness, and I'm So excited to read this one. I'm so late on the game, but I need to read Daisy Hates. It is the second book in the Magnolia Parks series. I did read Magnolia Parks a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It was such a quick read. It seems like so vapid, I guess is the best way to put it. But it's so highly entertaining, and yet like also really, really gets you in the heart. Like you have a connection with these characters, even if they aren't good characters. Like they're, you know, so I really am determined to read the rest of the series now. I can't find, this is what drives me crazy, I cannot find the original covers. I would have bought these books a long time ago if it wasn't for the stupid covers of like the legs with the high heels on them. Like I want the weird nautical looking covers again. I don't know where to find it. I've been on the hunt. Once I find those, I will buy the series. Today's not that day, so we're gonna get it from the library. Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. This has been on my list for a long time. I know a lot of people have read it and loved it. It's a love story, a love triangle even, but there's also a murder mystery kind of thrown in there. So it's suspenseful and you're on the edge of your seat, but there's this tenderness to it that I'm really, really excited. That sounds right up my alley. That sounds like a lot of Charlotte McConaughey's style of writing too. I love when you can kind of mesh the two genres of a mystery thriller while still also being so supportive in the emotional aspect of a book. So I'm really excited to read that one. That one will definitely get finished. I am going to read the synopsis word for word because I will screw this up very badly. I probably screwed up a lot of the synopsises that I was talking about earlier, but this one there's a lot of intricacies, it feels like. So I'm gonna read this. In Chicago sometime, two people meet in the Art Institute by chance. Prior to their encounter, did I even tell you what the title is? I don't think I did. My next book is Alone with You in the Ether by Olive E. Blake. She wrote, I wanna say it was like fantasy or some sort of dystopian style book. I didn't read it, but I remember someone talking about that. I'm like, that's the same person that wrote Alone with You in the Ether, which are very different styles of book, I feel like. Anyway, so this is what it's about. Two people meet in the Art Institute by chance. Prior to their encounter, he is a doctoral student who manages his destructive thoughts with compulsive calculations about time travel. She is a bipolar counterfeit artist undergoing court-ordered psychotherapy. By the end of the story, these things will still be true, but this is not a story about endings. For Reagan, people are predictable and tedious, including and perhaps especially herself. She copes with the dreariness of existence by living impulsively, imagining a new alternate timeline being created in the wake of every rash decision. To Aldo, the world feels disturbingly chaotic. He gets through his days by erecting a wall of routine, a backbeat of rules and formulas that keep him going. Without them, the entire framework of his existence would collapse. For Reagan and Aldo, life has been a matter of resigning themselves to blueprints of inevitability until the two meet. Could 6 conversations with a stranger be the variable that shakes up the entire simulation? I think that sounds beautiful. Atlas 6, that was the book I was talking about that she wrote. I don't know what that one's about either. Anyway, that sounds beautiful and gorgeous and amazing, and I'm really, really excited to read it. Shark Heart by Emily Habeck. It is such an odd sounding book, but I'm so excited about it. I also heard it's very sad, so like, double points. Shark Heart is about a man and wife in their life together, and the husband is diagnosed with a terminal illness where he gradually turns into a shark. It sounds silly, but it's all about grieving and taking care of one another through sickness and health, and like the trials that they go through because of it. I just think it's such an interesting way to write a book. And last but not least is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's in the 1940s. I don't know, I would imagine World War II would be a topic of conversation, but on the synopsis that I've read, that wasn't part of it, which I kind of appreciate it. I'm a little over World War II books. Time and place, you know, I get it. But it wasn't really mentioned in it, but I can't imagine this book not having it as part of the timeline because that's obviously such an integral part of the 40s. Anyway, 19-year-old Vivian Morris has just been kicked out of Vassar College owing her lackluster freshman year performance. Affluent parents send her to Manhattan to live with her aunt, and the aunt owns this big flamboyant kind of midtown theater, so she is kind of introduced to that scene with, you know, hot actors and the famous lifestyle of these actors, playwrights, all that jazz, everyone in theater. So it's gonna be, I feel like it's gonna be kind of weird but glamorous too. Yeah, and she ultimately makes a decision while she's there. I don't know what it is. She makes a decision that turns into a professional scandal, and it kind of follows her throughout her life. So I think that sounds awesome. I think that sounds so good and right up my alley. I hope you have a great day and a great spring and happy reading. Say bye, Co. Can you say bye? Bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Co. Boop, 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 boop.